Buddha's Dhammapada. Part 1, the complete English audiobook. Have you ever felt exhausted by the endless stream of thoughts running through your mind? Have you longed for true peace and wondered if it's unattainable? Your brain is a time machine, but it doesn't live in the present. Recent neuroscience studies talk about our brain's default mode network, DMN. When we are at rest or not engaged in any task, this DMN is highly active. Do you know what our mind does then? It either dwells on past events or gets lost in future fantasies. The present moment. It never gets the mind's full attention. Modern psychology has proven that this is the root cause of many of your worries, stress, and even several illnesses. Now, ask yourself a question. Would you believe it if a sage who lived 2,500 years ago, long before modern science, precisely identified this fundamental problem of the mind and offered a permanent solution? Yes, that sage is the Buddha. He said, "The mind is the basis of everything. Your thoughts create your entire world." Without just stating this profound truth in words, he compiled a collection of simple, poetic verses, providing all the methods for how you should train your brain, bring your mind to the present, and establish peace in your daily life. This is the Dhammapada. This is not just a religious text. It is a guide that transcends time and cultures, exploring the fundamental nature of the human mind and offering permanent solutions. The Dhammapada presents the essence of many hours of therapy from a psychologist's clinic, the wisdom of a neuroscientist's lab discoveries, and the profound thought of a philosopher, all in one book, in simple language. Through this audiobook, we are going to listen to the timeless teachings of the Buddha together. This is not just a collection of words. It is a journey of wisdom that will bring peace to your mind and meaning to your life. Let's begin that journey right now with Mindful Wisdom Daily. Part 1. Dhammapada. An introduction. Before starting this journey, let's briefly look at what the Dhammapada is. The Dhammapada is a part of the Tripitaka, the sacred text of Buddhists. More specifically, it is a treasure trove of wisdom found in the Khuddaka Nikaya section of the Sutta Pitaka. Dhamma means righteousness, morality, or the law of nature. Pada means path or way. Therefore, Dhammapada means the path of Dhamma. Written in the Pali language, this text contains 26 chapters and 423 verses, which are like poems or aphorisms. However, it cannot be confined to being just a book for a specific religion. It is a universal guide that teaches how a person should live, how to manage the mind, and how to be free from suffering. The Dhammapada is a collection of pearls of wisdom shared by the Buddha over his 45 years of teaching in different situations and for different people. Behind every verse, there is a story. It is the Buddha's response to a specific problem. In this audiobook, we are going to deeply explore the first few chapters of the Dhammapada. We will listen to, reflect on, and apply each teaching to our own lives. Part 2. Chapter 1. Yamaka Vagga, the twin verses. The first chapter of the Dhammapada is named Yamaka Vagga. Yamaka means twin. This chapter beautifully compares and explains pairs of opposing thoughts and their consequences. This is the foundation of the Dhammapada. By understanding this, it becomes much easier to grasp the other teachings. The very first verse of this chapter can be said to be the essence of Buddha's entire philosophy. In Pali, it begins with Mano Pubbangama Dhamma, Mano Seta Mano Maya. Its meaning is, All deeds are led by the mind. The mind is chief among all. Everything is mind-made. The Buddha continues, if a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, suffering follows him, just as the wheel of the cart follows the hoof of the ox that pulls it. Reflect deeply on this simile for a moment. Wherever the ox goes, its heavy cart and its wheels will follow it. Inseparable. The ox can never escape that burden. Similarly, if our mind holds evil thoughts like anger, jealousy, greed, and hatred, no matter where we go or what we do, the burden of suffering will not leave us. It will follow us like our shadow. When we think negatively about someone, that thought first affects us. It disrupts our mental peace. It creates a kind of poison in our body and mind. The words we speak based on that thought break relationships. The actions we take harm both ourselves and others. So, the seed of suffering does not come from outside. It is sown within our minds. Now, let's look at the other side of the coin. The second verse says, if a man speaks or acts with a pure thought, with a serene mind, happiness follows him, like his shadow that never leaves him. What beautiful and hopeful words! Pure thoughts are love, compassion, kindness, forgiveness, and finding joy in the happiness of others. If these thoughts are in your mind, your words will be as sweet as honey. Your actions will bring good to you and to those around you. The resulting happiness will stay with you forever, like a shadow that never leaves. The most important thing we need to notice here is that the Buddha does not link happiness and suffering to external factors. He links them only to the purity and impurity of our minds. For example, let's say your boss scolds you. The event is one and the same, but your experience depends on how your mind interprets it. A mind with evil thoughts will think, how dare he scold me? I must get revenge. This hatred will ruin your sleep, disturb your mental peace, and eventually plunge you into suffering. However, a mind with pure thoughts will think, well, he might have been stressed, or there might be a mistake in the work I did. Let's figure out how to fix it. This thought will lead you on a path of growth and also protect your mental peace. Thus, the lesson taught by the first chapter is very clear. You are the sculptor of your life. Your thoughts are the chisel you use. Every moment, your thoughts determine whether you are carving a life of bliss or a life of suffering. Pay attention to your mind. Identify and remove evil thoughts and cultivate good ones. That is the key to a happy and peaceful life. Part 3. Chapter 2. Appamada Vagga, on heedfulness, vigilance. After talking about the importance of the mind in the first chapter, in the second chapter, the Buddha teaches us how to protect that mind. The name of this chapter is Appamada Vagga. Appamada means being mindful, being aware, or being vigilant. The Buddha begins this chapter by saying, heedfulness is the path to the deathless. Heedlessness is the path to death. The heedful never die. The heedless are as if already dead. Notice the depth of these words. Here, death does not just refer to the death of the body. It refers to the death of the soul. The Buddha says that living like a machine, without any awareness of what we are doing, what we are thinking, or what we are saying, is equivalent to a lifeless state. So what is heedfulness? It is being fully aware of what we are doing in every moment. When walking, being aware only of walking. When eating, fully tasting its flavor. When speaking, being careful about what words we say. When anger arises in our mind, it is observing it like a witness, thinking, "Oh, anger is arising within me now." This is heedfulness. The Buddha says, "The heedful wise man shines brightly among the heedless, like one awake among the sleeping." Also, the wise man, having cast away heedlessness by heedfulness, ascends the palace of wisdom, sorrowless, and looks down upon the sorrowing people below, just as one standing on a mountain peak looks down upon those on the plain. Consider a simple example. Two people are walking through a dense forest. The first person, without a care for the dangers around them, walks along humming a tune, lost in some thought. They don't notice if there is a snake underfoot or if a wild animal is approaching. Their journey is fraught with danger. The second person is highly vigilant. They place each step carefully. They listen intently to every sound around them. They observe the trees, the plants, and the tracks of animals, and they proceed safely on their path. This forest is our life. It is filled with countless dangers like desire, anger, and jealousy. If we live like the first person, who is heedless, it is certain that we will get caught in these dangers and suffer. But if we are like the second person who is vigilant, we can navigate the journey of life peacefully and safely, without harm. The message this chapter gives us is to start a war against laziness and heedlessness. The Buddha says, "Do not give in to laziness. Do not lose yourself in small sensual pleasures. He who is heedful and persevering will attain boundless joy through meditation. Therefore, do every action with care. Keep observing your thoughts with awareness. This lamp of heedfulness will remove the darkness from your path of life and lead you to the light of wisdom. That is the great life without death." Part 4, Chapter 3, Citta Vagga, the Mind. Continuing from the first two chapters, the third chapter is entirely about the mind, Citta. This chapter analyzes the nature of the mind beautifully and deeply. The Buddha describes the mind this way: flickering, unsteady, difficult to guard, difficult to control. Is this mind? Just as an archer straightens a bent arrow, so does a wise man straighten his mind. How true this simile is. Our mind doesn't stay in one place for even a moment. Sometimes it jumps to the past, and other times it fantasizes about the future. Like a monkey swinging from one branch to another, our mind keeps jumping from one thought to another. That is why it is so difficult to control. He further says, "The mind, like a fish out of water and thrown on the land, flutters. Therefore, to escape from the grip of Mara, the evil one must subdue and master this mind. Just as a fish flutters when it is separated from its home, the water, so does the mind suffer when it is separated from its natural state of peace. Evil thoughts like desire and anger separate the mind from its nature, creating a state of restlessness. Our goal should be to bring this mind back to its natural state of peace. So, what should we do with this unruly mind? Should we let it go its own way?" The Buddha says, no. He says, "An ill-trained, uncontrolled mind will do more harm to oneself than an enemy could ever do." Think about it. The reason for most of our suffering is our uncontrolled mind. Sudden anger breaks relationships. Uncontrolled greed pulls us into wrong paths. At the same time, a well-trained, disciplined mind will do greater good to oneself than a mother, father, or any other relative could do. If you learn to subdue and master the mind, it will become your best friend. It will gift you with peace, wisdom, and liberation. How do we train this mind that is so difficult to control? Meditation and continuous mindfulness are the ways. Just as we build strong walls around a fortress and dig moats to protect it from enemies, we must also protect our mind from enemies like evil thoughts, using safeguards like mindfulness, morality, and wisdom. The lesson this chapter teaches us is this: your mind is not your master. You are the master of your mind. It may be like an untamed horse, but with the training of perseverance, you can tame it and bring it under your control. That training is not easy, but its reward is very, very high. A controlled mind is the greatest treasure you can get in this world. Part 5. Chapter 4. Puppha Vagga, Flowers. After discussing the deep, complex matters of the mind, in the 4th chapter, the Buddha uses a very gentle, poetic simile. The name of this chapter is Puppha Vagga, which means the chapter on flowers. The Buddha asks, who will conquer this world and the worlds of the Devas and the world of the Lord of Death? Just as a skilled garland maker selects beautiful flowers, so those who choose and follow the path of Dhamma, the path of wisdom, will conquer these worlds. There is a deep meaning in these lines. A person who goes to a flower garden does not pluck every flower they see. They carefully pick only the beautiful, bloomed and fresh flowers without harming the plant. Similarly, in this garden of life, we encounter many kinds of flowers: pleasure, pain, praise, and blame. The one who walks the path of wisdom, like that garland maker, only takes the experiences that are necessary and suitable for the Dhamma. They don't get caught up in evil, suffering-inducing experiences. They don't lose themselves by drowning in worldly pleasures, nor do they get discouraged by suffering. They realize the truth that life is impermanent and learn to live without attachment, like gently separating a flower from its stem. In another beautiful verse, the Buddha says, just as a bee, without harming the flower, its color or its fragrance, takes the honey and flies away, so should a sage enter a village. This applies not only to monks, but to all of us who live in households. We must live in this world and perform our duties. But we must learn to live without attachment, like that bee. When we experience the pleasures of the world, we should not get lost in them. And without harming others, we must take only the wisdom we need and move forward. In the same chapter, he also points out a negative aspect. A person's speech is like a flower without fragrance, having only color. He does not act according to what he says. Therefore, his words are of no use. But if a person's words are beautiful and like a flower with fragrance, and if he acts accordingly, his speech will be of great use. Finally, this chapter conveys a very important message. Do not look at the faults of others, what they have done or not done. Look only at your own faults, what you have done and not done. Our attention is mostly directed towards others. We waste our energy analyzing what mistakes they made. But the Buddha asks us to turn our gaze inward. Like searching for fragrant flowers, we must search for and cultivate the good qualities within us. We must identify and remove the weeds of evil qualities within us. This practice is what will make us blossom on the spiritual path. The teachings of these first 4 chapters of the Dhammapada that we have heard today must have certainly sparked some new thoughts in your mind. It could be the philosophy that the mind is the basis of the world, the importance of mindfulness, the art of controlling the mind, or the method of living without attachment, like a flower. One of these things may have deeply touched your heart. Which of these teachings fascinated you the most? Which teaching can you relate to your life the most? Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. When we read the experiences of others, we too may gain new clarity. Friends, we conclude the first part of this journey of wisdom called Buddha's Dhammapada Part 1. Today, through the Yamaka Vagga, we realize that the mind is the cause of both happiness and suffering. Through the Appamada Vagga, we learned that the armor of mindfulness protects us. The Citta Vagga taught us that controlling the unruly mind is the real victory. Finally, the Puppha Vagga showed us how to take the essence of life without attachment, like a flower and a bee. These teachings should not just stop at listening. We must try to implement them in our lives, little by little. That is the true respect we can show to the Buddha. Remember, the Buddha said, "Be a light unto yourselves." We hope